Okay. Welcome to a series of Unfortunate. How are you all doing today on this very beautiful day and on this very beautiful podcast?
Good,
Doing very
very
well.
excited.
You better be. This is a very opportune moment for all of you.
Little more
Yes, it is.
words, little more words can be used than no, yes, okay.
Do
I
we
have done puja
explain
today.
and how does that connect to the podcast?
In preparation of
Oh,
today.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct,
that is how it connects.
correct.
I am
And
excited.
and technically this podcast is also like a prayers only. So
Okay.
yeah,
yes.
it will add.
Please
It's
explain.
like
Sure.
you are talking to God-like people, they are here on
I
call. You
see.
are speaking. You are like, oh,
I don't
we
have a
want,
doubt.
we want. You should
Anushka,
not
you
have.
are very godlike. I can see that.
And
Mm.
stop it. Stop yourselves. If you have any
Anushka, this
doubt,
is where you say, Yesha, you are also very godlike.
Oh, Yesha, your name. Yesha, one more one more letter, and it becomes Yeshu.
Oh my God.
So you are the Lord of Christmas.
I am the savior. Yeah, that's true.
You're the
And that
savior.
is why we are shooting this during Christmas, but we will launch it much later. And everyone should know just how much planning and effort it takes into that goes into a podcast. But that is just how we do it. We make it seem so
Yeah.
effortless.
Nonchalant, laissez-faire, queens.
don't use words I have taught you on personal chat. Don't
You
use
have taught
them.
me only non. Chalant and laissez-faire are my words.
Laissez-faire. You have told me last to last call that this phrase you have taught me. Don't be. This is how they act in the workplace. On personal chats, they will learn from you. Then in public, they will be
They'll
like,
take all the
"Oh,
credit.
this is good start to this episode.
That is
This is
true.
how they are."
Tell us your thoughts on people in the workplace taking credit for other people's work.
Yes.
No, tell us. Why are you looking at us?
I'm waiting for Anushka to go because she's the one who started this, so she should get to speak first.
God. What do I feel about people who take credit for other people's work? I think if the manager is smart, they
Hmm.
see through it. Of course, there is hatred in the heart,
Hmm.
both on the face. But on a serious note, I think I have matlab, come across such people in the past.
Hmm.
But I think it's very easy to like cross them over because pretense doesn't hold for too long at the workplace. I feel they annoy you in the moment, but in the long term, I feel it's very, very easy to just uh, defeat them, for the lack of a better word.
Again, I think it's one
Hmm.
of the things that you cannot escape in the workplace, but if you're smart about it, you can navigate your way through it. Um, I make it a point to make my work very visible, regardless of who it is that is reviewing it or approving it. I make my work very visible so that they also know what's happening.
Hmm.
Good one.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. I really
क्योंकि
like
कोई
that.
क्रेडिट क्यों ही स्टील करेगा? क्रेडिट वही स्टील करेगा जिसका खुद का काम नहीं हो रहा।
का कोई काम नहीं होता.
हाँ, तो वही दिख जाएगा eventually. Why you're making face like I have spoken a maxim?
We are all in awe of your words today, Aparna.
Minute
Yeah,
Hindi language is here. Then the ladies are
yeah,
floored by salt of the earth behavior.
I also
yeah.
think people who take credit in the workplace, they don't go very far. I think it's a good strategy
Hmm.
to move ahead and have a really strong career progression, but it only takes you so far because I think at certain levels or roles in the workplace, there is a lot of I think ask of you to bring originality and individuality. And if you rely too heavily on others' work, then you're also sometimes sequestering yourself because now you are relying so heavily on others' work that even when they're giving you bad work, you have to use it because you're not used to doing your own work. So I don't think it's a strategy that works in the long term. It only works short term for to get you to a certain point B, and then after that you will have to be original and bring your own stuff to the table.
It also makes for a bad leader. I feel like when you're a boss, everybody knows that most of the work is being done by the team and you're just making
Yeah,
decisions. And at that point, everybody likes, I don't know, someone who's like leading a team or
yeah,
someone. Everybody likes people who will give credit freely to their team. But if you survive too long taking up the credit and then you reach these spaces and you're still taking credit, then it's like, it's not giving at all.
yeah.
It's not an
Yeah.
attractive trait.
Yeah. I also feel like everyone knows of the person who takes credit, right?
Hmm.
Like, not everyone, like people who are around you, your manager will also know
Yeah.
intrinsically, or I don't know, at some level that this person doesn't know too much, and hence this is
Mm.
happening. I don't know, I've never found a person who's done this very smartly, or I don't know, I've just not gotten to know it probably because they're doing it so smartly. But I don't think it ever, like you guys said, it never cuts it.
I
Yeah.
think when you're taking credit, then you're also doing it with a power dynamic, right? People generally take credit of persons in the workplace who don't have as much power as you, and you're never doing it
Mhm.
bottom up. You're never taking credit of people who are above you because you know they will instantly call it out. So you're always taking credit
Yeah.
of people who you perceive are not on the same strand as you. And I think that's
Yeah.
also why we don't figure it out as quickly sometimes, because if you do it smartly and you only use your power dynamics to do it, people don't have the power, so they're also not saying that, hey, this is happening with me as much. So then it just stays in
Mm.
that bubble for a while till that bubble bursts eventually. But then it becomes a he said, she said. Yeah.
I've
I'm
also
a,
seen a very different, a complete opposite of taking credit, which is I've also worked with people who give credit. They
Yeah.
will do the work and then they will give you the credit. In one of my
Yeah.
workplaces, I had a core team of two people where so there was three of us, and our manager, whenever she would make some changes, she would do something, it would be her original idea, but then she'd be like, no, no, you did this. And I'd be like, no, I did not. You did it. But then she'd be like, no, no, I just improved what you had already put down. So I just made it better and changed it a little bit. So I've also worked with people who don't want the credit. They're
Mm.
like, no, this is your work. You've done this. You take the credit for it. That's also very nice because we've literally had conversations where we were like, no, no, you did this. No, no, I didn't do this. You did this. Are, I did. Um, and it's been really nice.
Yeah.
an attractive and secure leader.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
very,
I think
very.
how your first or second manager is kind of sets you up for success, right? I think
Mm.
this trait especially, I think a lot of the managers traits, you if the manager is good to you, you try to imbibe, like you try to
Yeah,
copy very soon in your life. I think this is one of the traits, like giving credit, taking credit, how you do it, the power dynamic of it. I think this I've seen a lot of in myself also.
Mm.
I've seen myself copying whoever I called my first manager.
yeah.
But yeah, it really sets you up for either success or the other.
Absolutely. I think I've gotten very lucky. I've had two long-term managers, and both have been they've both been people that I've idolized and still do. And are very much still in my life, and I would like to keep in touch with them and keep learning from them. So even though they're not managers anymore, I
Mm.
do see them as mentors because the kind of work that they've done and the way that they handle themselves at work, the way they present themselves as well, the way they handle situations is just it's exactly what I would want to do. And that's I think
Yeah.
that I have gotten really lucky to have had come across such managers who've set the bar very high. So now going forward, I know what I want to look for when I'm looking at a good manager.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Or become one.
Is that something that matters to you a lot, to say like, who am I going to be working with or under when you're thinking of like an ideal workplace for yourself?
A lot. I think that's one of the I think sometimes you can't do this pre-research, right? Ki who exactly am I going to be
Yeah.
working with? But you do try to gauge from whatever information is there out there. Ki generally, that's where this word culture comes in, right? Ki generally what the vibe is. But how the things go in your first month, second month, third month, because you can't do any pre-research, I think that matters so much. Who you're working with, who is going to be your immediate manager, immediate environment. I think more than the outcome of the work, because I don't think in the first 5 to 6 months you are really being measured on any outcome. Um, More than the outcome, how people are with you, how they perceive your input to be, how they educate and teach and do knowledge transfer is, I think, so important. And I think that's very telling of them and very telling of the next couple of years that you're going to be spending with the org and with the people, but very super important. I think first on the list.
I agree 100%. I think you can be in a good situation or a bad situation at work at in any point in your entire journey as an employee. Um, and but as long as you have someone on your corner who is your manager or your co-team member, or just your peers, right? But if I were purely talking about the manager, if I know I can rely on my manager and I know that they have my back no matter how much I've screwed up at work, I feel like I can get through any situation because I have their trust and I have their support always. Um, and so regardless of I feel like how the workplace is or like whether I'm enjoying the work or not, I think the people that I work with is the most important to me in a workplace. I think everything else can change. It can be worked upon. I can make my peace with it, whatever it is. But if I feel like I'm stuck with people that I cannot look up to, that I do not respect,
Yeah,
I cannot be in that workplace. I don't think I would last very long in a workplace like that.
agreed.
What are some like personality traits you look for in the people that you work with? Like that if you see these kinds of traits, you're like, oh, actually, this makes me feel like they're my vibe.
Interesting. Never thought. I'm just trying to think who are the people I liked and what were their personality traits. I think now how they are with the larger, of course, they won't be very friendly with me on the first day or even the first month, but how they are with the larger team, how they speak with each other. I think uh, that is what would you call it? Like empathetic communication? I don't know. Uh, that is one trait that I think really matters to me. I think then a little bit on the professional side, I think discipline is what really matters to me, and discipline in a lot of ways are like, are you giving me the right resources at the right time, etc., etc. But yeah, but how they are with other people and how timely they are, as I am Shravan Kumar.
Anushka would come to classes. Anushka and I have studied together. We have done one degree of my multiple degrees. I have done one degree with
Sure,
with
sure.
herself, please. And she would come to classes like 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes before. If I have had a class that's over, and by chance, this is never intentional, but by chance I have just gone to that classroom, "Okay, I'll keep my bag here, then I'll go get a snack, I'll go pee." She's already sitting there. Then I'm like, okay, shall we go? नहीं यार, अभी अभी तो आने वाले होंगे प्रोफेसर्स, तो अभी मुझे
Yeah.
प्रिपेयर करना है. A good, diligent person. So it's
Which
there
is
is,
good,
I'm
yeah.
saying there is credibility.
Hmm.
Possibility could be she's lying about other things, but this thing is a truth. This thing is a truth.
Everything's a lie.
No, I agree. I think discipline when you're working and you know you're in that zone, and then when you are not working, you know you're in an informal sort of scenario with your colleagues. So then just being chill and like normal and you know just friendly banter. So I think I work best with people who can draw that line, who can create that boundary. Um, and I think I can say it. So Vidushi and I used to work together, and we worked very closely for 2 years, 2.5 years. And I don't think I have gotten this I don't think I've like the way that she and I did it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, because she's not gonna be in those scenarios. But hopefully, we'll work together again someday. But we had this beautiful, perfect work relationship where we were working together, and we knew exactly what we needed to do. We would brainstorm with each other, we would give each other ideas, we'd support each other, and like be the most professional colleague that you will ever see. And then the moment we're out of work, we were the best of friends, and we sitting and gossiping and talking about things and discussing what we want to do, where we're going to go. So it was, I think, the perfect relationship of like having friends who are also your colleagues. And I use it now as a way to sort of inform how I want to build relationships with my future colleagues. Because I would want to have that personal aspect with them, I build that interpersonal connection as well. But as well as like have maintain that discipline and those boundaries when you are at work, because that's also very important.
Yeah.
I love that. I have spoiled you for every other future
You
team
have.
member. That's just what I wanted to hear. That's it. We can close the podcast right now on this high note.
Yesha, you can take little credit for that good relationship. This one is okay only with
I
me.
No,
know.
no, I agree. I mean, obviously, it's not just her. I'm a good colleague. No, no. But it was just that we just got each other. Like we just understood that. It was never something that we sat down and discussed. Ki, okay, boundary maintain करेंगे, ये ऐसे होगा, we'll do this way. It just happened very organically, which is why I appreciate it so much, because we didn't really have to put in that much effort into making our relationship the way it turned out to be. And the moment we stopped being colleagues, the moment I left my workplace, we continued to be the friends that we were. So nothing changed in that dynamic as well, which I think it's great. And of course, it was a 50-50 thing. We both sort of understood this and built it together. So yeah, I think it has to come from both sides. It cannot be like one person putting in all the effort. That doesn't work out.
I
Yeah.
think for me, if I think about it now, I think it comes from like knowing that we value similar things, so it would happen a lot more organically because some of those things are in common.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the thing, right? When people value similar things, we end up, even if we're vastly different people, we end up behaving a similar way, or we end up understanding where the other person is coming from a lot more easily. And I've seen that happen a lot in different relationships at the workplace. So that's interesting.
And
Yeah.
that's probably why they try to so many different workplaces will try to optimize when
Yeah.
they're hiring for a certain type of aptitude for the role, and they
Hmm.
will and also attitude for the role. Like they say that
Yeah.
a lot, why so many, which I know is arbitrary because it's an unnecessarily tough examination,
Yeah.
but why so many people clear the two exams but they don't clear the interviews for UPSC exams is a lot of times because they, and that attitude could be like good or bad, whatever, like, but
Hmm.
they want like-minded people and they really focus on bringing in those like-minded people, like they optimize a lot for that.
Hmm.
But speaking of boundaries in the workplace,
Yeah.
we should, like, let's talk about, because we all come from like different workplaces, we've had experience in different industries and different sectors and domains. So what are some, um for according to you all, what would be like a good boundary to have in the workplace? Because I know personally that all of us are people who like having friends, we're friendly in the
Yeah.
workplace, we are friends with people we've worked with, and those relationships have become more deeper and they've become better once we've left those workplaces, but they have started in the workplace, so we're clearly not people who are like, "Arey, nahi, nahi, mujhe nahi chahiye." But still, what would be some
Hmm.
non-negotiables, like in terms of relationships in the workplaces for you all?
Non-negotiables in terms of
और
relationships.
इवन लाइक
For
नॉन
me,
नेगोशियबल्स एज इन ये नहीं होना चाहिए, बट ऑल्सो ये तो डेफिनेटली होना चाहिए. Like this, without this, I can't do it. And without like this is a big no-no. Like I would never be this vulnerable, maybe. Like I'm giving examples of.
I am the kind of person who values friendships at work. I look forward to building friendships at work because I think it kind of sort of works for me, looking at my history. Um, I like to, what I've also realized, what I've been doing in the past few workplaces, have not had that many, that I like to establish myself first as a good and efficient worker. And before that, I will not make a very close friendship because I think, and it is also because I often look at myself from external eyes, which might not be great either. Like I kind of think कि कोई मुझे ये ना बोल दे कि ये तो सिर्फ खीखी करने आई है यहाँ पे, ठीक है? So I try to establish कि one thing I will do really well and I will be known for it, and only then will I start. And this happens very naturally. I don't think I look to do this, but this happens very naturally. And I think it's good to make really good friends at work, yeah. And how, like, I think Yesha and Vidushi also spoke about how you can switch between professional and personal. I think that is really beautiful. I think having a person, because you can get so lonely in your professional life sometimes because your parents don't understand it in a lot of
Yeah,
cases. Your school friends probably do not get it. Your college friends probably have taken different routes, right? A person who kind of travels between your professional and personal space and knows of the
yeah,
very relevant context that you go through day in day out, you can speak with them literally at about everything at this particular point in time. I
yeah,
think that kind of person is um extremely valuable. But I think something that you shouldn't do for sure is like, what would the power dynamic be between you and that person, right? What if that person is a one up, right? Is like
yeah,
is like two, three positions above me, and I don't know what relationship you're talking about, but even if it's just a friendship, that can take very different forms, right? So one has to be really careful about what how much of the power dynamic changes as you become a friend and when you enter your workplace. Yeah.
That is so interesting because my approach is the complete opposite. I first try to establish if I can have a personal relationship with this person, and I try to see
right,
that. If I feel like yes, then then I'm a different way with that person. If I feel like actually I think this is going to be purely professional, very cordial, then I have a different way, like a different approach of like communicating with that person or like building that relationship. Obviously, at the end of the day, I want all relationships to be good and amicable and like nice. But for me, it's the personal aspect which is, I think, more important. Um, for me to know if I can trust this person, if I can rely on them, if I can, if I ever want a good laugh, if I'm having a bad day, can I go to this person for it? And it honestly depends on the yes and no for each of these. But I have also experienced, I've been in a situation where um, I have not seen this person as a very close close friend, just a professional, more of a professional relationship. But they've tried to like really establish like, you can tell me anything, we're very close, whatever you want to share, whatever you want to talk about. And I've not felt comfortable in that situation, in that conversation, because they've really tried to push that boundary that I've created. And I think in that moment, what I did wrong was I didn't reiterate that, hey, this is a boundary and you're stepping on it. I should have done that, but I was not able to. But yeah, I
Got
think
it.
it's very interesting that it's the complete opposite for me. Um, but yeah, I think a non-negotiable for me in terms of what you should not be doing is, if you're seeing that the other person has established this boundary and they don't want you to cross it, I think you should, even if you mean well, you're trying to do good, it may not come off as you like trying to do that. So I think you should be very mindful of what other people's boundaries are in the workplace and stick to those. Don't go beyond.
I have an example for
Makes
this.
sense.
My first conversation with Yesha has just been her and me getting on a call where she's supposed to like talk to me about this is what I do, this is my role, and we have jumped right into and the like our own personal lives, and the call has ended with what is our trauma? What triggers us? Do you go to therapy?
2 hours that conversation
Yeah.
was where we've just spoken about our personal lives and nothing else. And this is the very first
Great.
time I was speaking to Vidushi.
How
So I
that's how
think
you knew.
yes,
That's how I knew. That's how we both knew, I think. Yeah.
I think a lot of the boundaries that we set in the workplace actually come from the first few sets of peers that we engage with, and it starts as early as when we're doing internships, when we're in college. I think that's how you kind of manage and learn. I think one of the reasons it helps me to use hats in the workplace and say, oh, am I using a friend hat or am I using like a work hat and so on and so forth is also because when you're doing internships and you're in college, you're able to go to the workplace, be professional, but then you come back to a college which is categorically quite an unprofessional space in many aspects. So you're also switching between that, and I think that switch really helps for you to practice like, okay, what hats do I wear? And sometimes if you're working and interning in like spaces which require like certain levels of like confidentiality and trust, and then that allows you to build those qualities just a lot better. So I think I've had that experience, which has helped me get very comfortable with using hats in the workplace. So I'm a person who will bring my whole personality to work. I think it's very difficult for me to be in spaces and not be 100% myself. But I choose the intensity of that 100%, or I choose like the hat or the lens that I want to wear in that moment and how I choose to react. So I think that really helps me build that balance. One thing I have practiced over time though is because the hats are visible to me in my head. दूसरे इंसान को तो लग रहा है अरे एक टाइम मैंने इससे बात की she was like this, another time I've spoken to her and she is fully different. So what is going on? Um, so it's helpful to like tell other people also that I'm using hats. I am wearing friend hat right now. Do not expect me to respond in a different way. So I think making that visible for other people has helped over time. Otherwise, they just think you're a very inconsistent human being and their experience of you is not very great.
I though have I get significantly put off if someone is very friendly initially in the workplace. I'm like, what is this? How you are doing? And also then, but I will be fun. Also, my trajectory is different. So first 6 months of the workplace, I am very invisible. And I don't know if y'all have observed that, but I am very invisible in the workplace for the first 6 months. I like to like observe before I act on anything. So I'll be like, okay, I will learn my work and then I will do something about it, but I will do much later. And then I will also understand if the people here are, you know, friendly people or they are mad people, because many people are mad people that I have worked with. I will say this. So yes. So then can I really? And then personality of mine is also a little bit where I don't want to share. So I've been told
Yeah.
that by people that you are not a sharing. So correct, I'm not on purpose. But that's what happens. It takes me a long time to get to like being friends with people in the workplace. Um, so it's like I don't know, I don't know how to describe my this, but I at the same time I do have this need to appear sociable and to appear like, oh, फनी है, जोक्स मार रही है, हाँ हाँ ये चल रहे हैं, मस्ती चल रही है, this is a fun person to be around, because then people don't like look deeper and try to like be better friends or something. So, like that is a good trick.
They don't question.
Yeah, they won't question anything. They're like, oh, we have had 4 laughs with this person and we can move on and we can move ahead. So it's a good way of deviating people from
That
trying to
makes
be.
sense. Like you are guarded, so you
Yeah.
don't want to do trauma bonding the way Vidushi and I did on our first call. But you also don't want to be like labeled as a weirdo who doesn't talk to anyone in the workplace.
Mm.
So you are chill, but at the same time, you're also like, please, you're still a colleague. So still pretty calm,
Yeah.
which I think is
Also,
completely fair.
but also nobody likes a woman who's guarded and who's keeping to herself. When a gent is
Yeah.
guarded and is keeping to
Yeah.
himself, he's like a mysterious genius. You
Mm.
know how what is he doing? How is he doing it? हमें तो पता ही नहीं है. Wow, कभी कभी बोलता है सब इसकी बात सुनो. Whereas if a
Yeah.
woman is like that, she's a stuck-up bitch. So I think that
Yeah.
also perhaps
I
plays.
also
Arrogant bitch.
Yeah, I also think it has something to do with personality traits, right? And I read there was some research about this, and I'm sure
Yeah.
there must be much research about this. But how if you're more sociable and extrovert, you're more likely to progress in the workplace than if you're an introvert and don't create those same bonds, don't spend that much like energy building those relationships. Because even in the most bias-free environment, your attitude, your perspective, how people connect with you, how they see you, how much visibility you bring of your work, all depends on how much FaceTime connection relationship you're building with somebody. And if you do not partake in that, if you're not sociable, if you're not well liked to a certain extent, it is going to matter um, to people. Even if they choose not to see it, it is going to matter in like the final thoughts that they may have. So that's also interesting. Like how much of your sociableness is not
Yeah.
because you want to be social, but because you know if you're not sociable, you will be there will be some sort of cost to
I
that.
think I completely agree. I
No, you
remember
say.
in my first few months of working, um, I would just not go to any party, any
Hmm.
after work party, and I did not feel any FOMO. And I think that was just my personality showing. I am, in most situations, extremely introverted, and I
Hmm.
would not feel any FOMO. And then I think, especially if you're a woman, you are perceived to be in a different way. Then I was young, so I could still get away with these things being a child, right? I was a 20-year-old working right out of my undergrad college. But I think I realized later that there is a fine line. Like you need to,
Yeah.
like as a woman, you will be perceived to be an arrogant, stuck-up bitch so soon, so quickly, that you have to strategize this really well. And hence, finding your allies within the team with whom you can go to these kind of events, these kind of after hour parties is, finding those allies becomes really pertinent. Otherwise, so you'll go to this. I have gone to these events for face showing
Hmm.
of like a few times, but I have come out to be a stuck up arrogant bitch there also. So hasn't helped, but finding allies did late.
I think general advice for the listeners and everybody is that you have to be very practical and smart about these things because no workplace is bias free. If you have people working in a workplace, if whether you have 5 people or 500 or 5,000, there is going to be bias. Everybody is operating with bias. It's human nature, right? No matter how much someone tries not to, it still shows up in some way or the other. And so people are forming opinions. People are inherently judgmental,
Yeah.
and people love to label other people because it's a very gray world. People like to make sense of things, and labeling things is making sense of things, right? So I think that you have to be very practical and smart about these things, right? You need to strategize. If you are very new in the workplace, you need to be smart. You need to know whom to open up to, whom
Yeah.
not to open up to. Um, who do you maintain professional relationship with? When do you um, when is it okay for you to miss out on certain things? When is it an opportunity for you to network more? um, and you have to be very calculative about it as well, especially as a 20 something woman in the workplace. I think it's just something that I think everybody should be talking
Yeah.
about, but and thinking about. But I think especially for women who are just getting into the workplace or have had a few years of experience in the workplace is something that
Yeah.
this this has to be like a strategy. Otherwise, yeah, then there are labels for everyone, and there are endless number of labels for everyone.
Hmm. I
Also
also,
think that, sorry, no, oh, I also think I'll quickly complete for yourselves. But I also think the boundaries have evolved because my
hmm,
dad will love to give like workplace, and that's probably also why I'm so guarded. But he will love to give workplace advice, and this is his advice always. Don't try to make friends. Don't try to be friendly. Never bitch about your boss to anyone. If multiple people have same boss, never bitch. But also never praise someone too much because someone will get jealous of the praise and they will go and tell the praise person that you are bitching about. I mean, sir, please, you are saying so much. But he's also not wrong because what he would say
Yeah.
is that, you know how Vidushi said people don multiple hats.
yeah,
I think, and I know we are different, but also like it's different when you have interpersonal relationships in the workplace with someone. So there is some like you bring some humanity into it, but at the end of the day of the multiple hats that someone is donning, when it comes down to it, they will pick the workplace hat and the
yeah,
co-worker hat
yeah,
and they will do
Yeah.
whatever it takes and they will say listen, this is what I need to survive in the world and be professional because that is paramount, especially if that person is not a privileged person, so they can't choose to praise their principles and morals above maybe like employment. So yeah,
Yeah.
I have
I
not let
agree.
two people speak so they can speak. I'm a
I
gents.
I was also thinking of how much boundaries in the workplace differ for men and women. So, Aparna, you may not experience the world the same way as us, apparently.
I'm so sorry.
You should be a little. Um,
I'm sorry.
they do in the workplace. I think boundaries differ for men and women, and um, I've had a I have had the privilege to work in many non-male centered industries and non-male centered workplaces. So, which is why my experience has been that in those workplaces, I've seen it turn out really differently. I've seen like the kind of focus on boundaries also shift a little bit. Suddenly, boundaries are a lot more flexible when there are fewer men in the workplace. And I feel like that makes a huge difference because people are also less guarded.
Yeah.
People are feeling more comfortable being themselves, and I don't think it's a product of necessarily just men being in the workplace. It's also that when men are in the workplace there is a certain kind of environment that gets created, and I've seen that environment, the opposite of that environment, in multiple spaces, so I know that it can exist but men just choose to not make it exist.
I agree.
You know what? This is something that I'm actually worried about because I've spent the majority of my work life in a workplace that had the majority of the employees were women. And so I feel like my workplace has spoilt me because now I have to go out into a different workplace. And I don't know what to expect. I am assuming that it is not going to be a very, women dominated workplace. So there is a possibility that it might not be, depending on the sector and all of that. Um, and I feel like I'm not prepared. I feel like I feel very spoiled. So I don't know what to expect. I feel like I will really need to change a lot of things and like
Hmm.
again change my strategy quite a bit because it's very different. Like it's been very different for me.
I have a question though. Then, as you look for a workplace, is the gender makeup of the organization something that matters? Is that something you look for? And same for you also, huh, Anushka?
Hmm.
I can check quickly. I don't think it matters. Um, it does matter to a point where I feel like if there are mostly men in the organization, I would have a problem with it. If there are mostly women in the organization, I think I'd be more comfortable and I would not have a problem with it. I would obviously want to look for a more diverse representation of different genders and identities. Um, I would prefer it, but I also feel like that's very ideal in a lot of industries at the moment. But yeah, I would have a problem if like the entire executive board of the organization is just men. I don't think I would want to work for an organization like that. I know it's very um it's a very strong statement, but like, and I'm probably like future employers are going to listen to this. But I'm actually, yeah, I don't think I would hesitate. I mean, I can say it again. I would not work in a workplace where it's just men as far as the eye can see. I would not survive there.
I love it. You've doubled down on the statement. What we will do is we will
I
cut. We will
Future
just cut.
employers, please see.
We will
Please
just
see.
cut. Yeah,
Do
please
better.
see. Do better. We will just cut this clip, and any place you apply to, we will attach it to this to
I'll
that
add it to
place.
my CV. I'll add it. You know how in interviews they have like, oh, now then the interviewer will be like, do you have any questions for us? And then I'll just be like, how many men and women do you have working for? How many women are decision makers in your company? Because then I'll decide.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry, that's just how it is.
But that is a
Yeah.
question for when they award like all of the surveys that they
Yeah.
do. That is a question ki like of your senior leadership, how many
Yeah.
are women? So it's not just board to by law mandate hai na
Yeah.
कि now at least one woman has to be on it.
Yeah.
But ये भी तो matter करता ही है at the end of the day. So you are right. And I think your lens also matters. A lot of people who have the power to perhaps, you know, change this in organizations, it's important that this matters to them.
Yeah, because it's also such a I understand that when we say this, you in some way are also reinforcing the gender divide and the gender bias. But if I do not have decision makers who can represent me in a lot
Yeah.
of ways,
Mm.
and who do not really understand where I come from and what are my needs. I don't think, first of all, a man can understand that. And so if I don't have someone who's representing that, I don't feel comfortable enough to be in that workplace. So
Mm.
I think this is a big non-negotiable for me.
Anushka, what about you?
I think similar, yeah. So, number one, I mean, I come from all of my education has been extremely privileged education, right? Like all of the cliche privileged education. And by the virtue of that, I am in places that do not necessarily have, I have been in places that do not necessarily have the right gender ratio, like especially if you've ever been in tech. Um, but having said that, I think it's extremely important. I was very, very, very lucky to have a very strong headed female manager in the very beginning of my career. And I think, like alluded to Pehle also, I think I have tried to ape a lot of what she used to do when she was probably my age. Um, I think additionally, what also matters, because I think in larger organizations, getting the gender ratio fixed is such a large project. What also matters is what is the lens, as she said, or what is the point of view to gender, right? So in a lot of privileged places I have been in before, either classrooms or friend circles, I have oftentimes not appreciated the kind of tone that is taken when it comes to correcting the gender ratio. But if you find an organization that works extremely towards it, I think that also is enough for me. And what you said, Yesha, I think if I can see enough women who I can role model around, like who I can make my role model, like I often tend to make people who are very close to me my role models. Like bachpan se I've never had Mother Teresa as my role model, right?
Yeah.
Like these need to be very real people, and you do not ape the entire personality. You ape like two, three characteristics. I think if you have those few people inside the organization, it helps. And completely agreed on the fact that a woman will always see a role model in a woman. Because as you grow older, the responsibilities, not just the responsibilities, a woman's life gets
Expectation.
layered in a certain way. Yeah, expectations, everything, right? So I don't think any woman who's saying, or any person who's saying I find myself in this gender or that gender. No, I think a woman can find themselves in a potential woman. Uh, wow, this is such a weird
You
statement to
can,
make, but
let's come
sure.
out. You can come out on this. A woman
Yeah,
can find a potential in another woman is
yeah,
stating
yeah,
you
yeah.
are, you can speak your truth.
I
You
would
can
if
be.
I could. I would if I could, or if I were. I would.
For me, I don't think gender makeup is the only thing that I would factor in. If I'm trying to look at the um, safety and comfort of the space, I think the gender makeup adds to that. It allows me to get a really good sense of whether this place is one that could provide me the comfort and the safety that I need. And that's really important to me because I'm spending a majority of my waking day in that workspace and around those people. So I, on an average, I need to be able to engage with enough people who I enjoy spending time with more than the people who I don't enjoy spending time with. That's the only ratio I'm looking at. And a part of it is also gender. A part of it is gender identity. A part of it will also be values and attitudes. So I think it comes together. Um, I think I've also come to understand that if I try and work in spaces which necessarily have a gender makeup in the organization, I will severely limit my options. And sometimes I worry about that. I'm like, while we are working towards progress, I don't think there is enough or it's moving fast enough that the needles are turning. And then I feel like, okay, then maybe that's not the thing that I can necessarily focus on in my life. Whereas I can work with people to make sure like that's the shift we make. But till that time, I will have to work in environments which may not feel as safe and comfortable and do that work that's needed to make it that way. So I'm also realizing it's also about the number of options that you have versus don't have. So I think that's also something that I factor in when I'm putting in these filters for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have done engineering, so I have never had, and I have done electrical engineering. So there were like 12 women in a class of 80 men in which I was rumored to be a gay. So, because I was only hanging out with one woman. So, ek to, yeah, I've not been able to make a choice. Also because I've not had enough, I don't have enough clout as a professional to
Yeah.
choose basis this. And then it's not happened organically. But I have worked in now three workplaces, and which one of them did have more women, and it does make your experience a lot better because when you have very few, and I've worked in workplaces that there have been very few women, like there have been times that I've been the only woman on the team, and that is coupled because then when you're working with people who are your senior, you're not just working with a senior person, you're working with a senior man. So there is this boundary that comes in is very severe. Like there's a lot of things and there's a lot of ways in which you just can't be yourself in that workplace. So
Yeah.
it does make a huge difference. Like I can't joke, like I can't joke around and be myself around a male 40-year-old man, at least initially, because he'll think I'm hitting on him or something. Like he'll be like, what is going
Yeah.
on? Yeah. And versus when you're working in an organization with more women, for lack of a better phrase, I have my pick among these women, like so many ladies to choose from. Ki who will be my mentor, who will be my friend, who will be this, who will
Yeah.
be that. So I think it's a huge, it makes things better. But I to add to that, because earlier Anushka was saying something like women see potential in the women's. She was saying like this.
Women see themselves in women. I did not see I did not see potential. But
Don't
for
lie.
sure,
This is
potential.
how media works. We will cut the clip in a way.
Yeah.
Sensationalizing is happening.
But I've seen, because in a lot of these places, then you get to see more women behaving, and I think it's a huge red flag for me personally. If like there are many women leaders around, and then the women are choosing a male role model, इसके बीच में ना, चलो, doing it
I've
wrong.
always been in a scenario, in a situation where majority of the population has been my gender. I love that.
I think the only
Love
thing
that
I
for
am
me.
taking away is that only the women are wanting to be educated. Everyone else, everyone, all the men are just sitting.
Men are just chilling. I don't know where they are.
Yeah,
I don't
They
Do
know.
some
don't.
gully danda.
They are watching Nikhil Kamath and Elon Musk ka podcast, and
that is why.
they are watching. That's where the men are.
Oh,
I don't
Oh,
know. Anushka probably doesn't know this, but Vidushi has a it's an incredible talent of bringing out the worst in you. You know how people are always like,
it is.
oh,
what?
I am such a good personality, I bring out the
Yeah,
best in others. Vidushi is the opposite of that.
yeah,
If you don't fight, and in general, if you are a very, calm, peaceful kind of person, you spend one day with her and you will be the most
yeah.
violent person that we've ever come across.
I
People
am
feel
waiting to be.
people feel very comfortable being their worst selves around me, and I take it as such a
Yeah, it is.
compliment. I'm like, if you can show me your
Yes, it
worst,
is.
and we love each other even then.
Just because
I'm
you're
waiting. Violence is my
reframing it,
next step.
just because you're reframing it to justify it to yourself does not change the facts.
The reality is anything in this world can be reframed with the right editing, is what I have learned. We will come back for that amazing question that Aparna has, and I'm ready for it, girl. You ask it today.
So you imagine you're designing a workplace, or you're like starting your own organization, or something like that. What, and you had to like bring in people. What is a reason that, and like, let's be honest, what is the reason that you would bring a man in? Like, what are the skills that are, like, you feel like we need some men? It can't be an all women organization. We need some men. If at all you feel, you can also choose not to feel that way, and I think it's completely fine. But if you had to bring in men, why would you do that? And not based on their skill, because I think skill can be replicated.
I think maybe
Sorry.
The entire
Sorry.
the entire group went silent for 2 minutes, and we're like, we have never been challenged like this before.
what is this question? Oh my God. I think I mentioned this before. Like the most idealistic workplace for me is where there is enough and good representation of all identities, all genders. And I would, if I were designing my own workplace, I would hire people primarily based on merit, right? Like based on like checking if they have the skill, if they're the right fit, if they fit the culture that I see in the organization, that I imagine for the organization. So regardless of their identity, I would hire them. And then, but then at the same time, I would want there to be a good balance and a good representation of all people. I think that is what is most important for me. I say that I would want to work with women. It's because I feel like women represent me.
No, no, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. I'll pause you. I'll pause you. I'll add a caveat. Imagine you're checking for skill, you're checking for merit, which is just a construct, but you're checking for merit, you're checking for all of these things, and you're checking for like values and alignment of those things. And when you're done with all of this, and you've completed your hiring, and you've rolled out offers for say 5 people, you find that all 5 of them are women, but you are someone who is like, no, like, and this is what you're saying, like, I want there to be like fair representation. Then you would bring in men for fair representation, or is there also something else that they bring that you feel like, no, I, because a lot of women are hired for say something like
Yeah.
empathy. Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say, that I feel like when you are trying to balance it out later, once you've made your initial
Huh.
hires, that's very gimmicky. Then you are
Yeah.
just trying to show.
Huh.
No, I don't again, oh my God, what is this question? Um,
Thanks.
no,
Thanks.
I don't know. I want Anushka to speak now so I can gather my thoughts.
All can
Ah,
speak.
no, so I was trying to think about this question, and firstly, a very tricky question to answer, right? In the most utopian world, you
Thanks.
will not see how many men are there and how many women are there. But we are extremely away from being in a utopia, right? We are in a world where, especially, I have been conditioned to think about how many women are around me. And now that we have grown a little bit, grown, I think, a lot from what we used to be before, there's a lot of intersectionality when it comes to representation in a country like India, right? There's so many surnames that you will not see. Like, you look around yourself in a privileged organization, there'll be exactly upper caste Hindus who will be near you, right? Now, upper caste Hindus from metropolitan cities, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you think about representation now, I was thinking to exactly your question, ki what are the jobs where I will prefer men over women? And it is probably because of how we've been conditioned in a patriarchal society that women, I think a lot of statistics also supports this ki a lot of women tend to do a lot of jobs better than men. They tend to be better managers, people managers, etc., etc., and that is what you have to be when you are growing in the organization. I mean, I was literally just very tactically answering your question. The only scenario where I can think I would hire men over women is where safety is involved, right? And I think that is the only. I don't think there is any muscle power needed in the modern. Again, we are in a very very privileged part of the working world, where muscle power is not needed anymore, right? And we are probably the top 1-2%. But in our world where muscle power is not needed, I can't think, and someone can prove me wrong, where a woman will not do it as well as men. So will I especially create a space for men tomorrow? Only when I think that I am restricting a lot of I'm making my culture a certain way, which I do not, where I do not, like, I do not want to take it here. Only then will I think, oh, let us now make space for men. But the reality is that when you open any application for any job tomorrow, be it a job where women are more traditionally there, right? Like any job where women tend to be the majority, वहाँ पे भी men will have more applications. So I can't even imagine a scenario where I will be able to build an organization which will not have men, right? Unfortunately, any industry.
My bottom line is going to be about representation. But if I feel like that's not happening, and you know, the diversity in the organization that I'm trying to build is going in a certain direction, where maybe only women are being hired and men are not being hired, I don't see what the problem is with that. I would be
Yeah.
okay with it. I would
Do
want to, then
you?
I'll just change my policy and I'll just be like, okay, this is a women only organization, more opportunities for women to work, and to do the kind of work that my organization is going to be doing. So, yeah, I really don't see a problem with that.
Hmm. One thing I'd add though, this kind of an opinion should never be mistaken for that we are complacent in terms of business goals, right? Often when women say these things, you're like, "Arey, she wants only X by 2 percentage growth, while you can get X% if you're like that, right? The objective of the company, as I will defer to my MBA, will be to increase shareholder value. Now, now
Maximize.
maximizing shareholder, sorry, maximizing shareholder, sorry to Professor Tantri or whoever. But this should never be mistaken for complacency or for ease, right? And like, I don't know if you guys follow that influencer, I'm forgetting her name. She has probably an all women organization where they're a wealth management company. They have been doing extremely well for themselves. She is a very popular influencer on Instagram. They take 2 weeks leaves on Christmas. They take a break during summer. They have work from home from anywhere policy. They have the highest retention rate. And what I'm trying to get at is ki if you have your business goals and your people aligned, a lot of things can happen. I'm sure she did not set out to make an all women workplace. It just so happened that she attracted those kind of women as people, and she was able to provide for them, right, with the right kind of resources. But yeah, again, the add-on is that one should not confuse this for any kind of complacency. Like one has to grow, however.
Your example reminded me of this actors roundtable that I watched with an all-female cast. And one of the most popular actors in the Bollywood industry, right?
Name them.
They were
Yeah,
talking
you
about
didn't name the actors.
no, there was
Actor
there was I'm pretty sure there was
Rani
Karina
Mukherjee.
there. I don't know if Alia was there.
Deepika.
Taapsee Pannu was there. I don't know
Tabu.
if Deepika was there. But like all really good actors in their respective like line. And they were talking about how when you have a female director or when you have like a woman calling the shots on set,
Yeah.
it is so seamless, right? Like people can get like they were like we don't have to worry about when we're going home. Everybody's personal issues, personal lives are incorporated very well. किसी को leave पे जाना है, they can. Somebody wants something, they can. Like it's so like organic and it's so relaxed on set. Whereas when they have like a male director or a male person who's calling all the shots on set, it's a completely different environment. Again, what Deepika was also trying to do, right? Like when she left that the Vanga movie because
Sandeep Reddy
she
Vanga.
was fighting for like 8 hour work shifts and all of that. People made such a big deal about it, like, oh my God, how can you do that? But they are the same people when a woman does not get home at a certain hour and be like, where have you been? You have duties at home as well. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you what do you want, right? So I don't know again if this is like a very if it's because it's part of like a woman's personality or what it is. It's just easier to work with. I feel it's just a lot more easier to just understand where they're coming from and also to like be able to explain to them where you are coming from. And it's just so like the synergy is also
I have a nuance to add here, which is for me, I feel like it doesn't just end at having female leaders for me. I think it's
Hmm.
about having more feminine energy around me. Sometimes that can also make a huge shift because I've also realized that when there's internalized misogyny, there will be some women who will bring a lot of that masculine energy. And when I say masculine, I mean the toxic masculine energy because there is internalized misogyny. So they will show up in the workplace or in personal life in that manner. So for me, when I think of even leadership, I don't necessarily think for me it's restricted to female leadership. I think it's more feminine leadership that I'm looking for, which has a lot more of the caregiving aspects of leadership, which are very looked down upon a lot of the time. Which is why for me, less men and women, but more that, hey, can we center less on men in terms of leadership and actually look at what are other people bringing in terms of leadership. So examples of this would be that someone who is um, coming from any kind of disprivilege, right? What they bring to the leadership would be very different from a man because that man, by nature of the existence in the systemic structures right now, has faced X amount of privileges in their life. So they will always look at leadership and how to take people along in a very different manner because they build community differently. They engage with people differently. They are they are looking at people as others a lot of the time, right? They are looking at things and saying we can't understand them ever. Whereas people who come from disprivileges, and that includes women and other sections of society, they are all coming from a place where they've constantly had to make space for others. They've constantly had to like take that step and say,
Yeah.
okay, I will try and understand someone else. I will try and take someone along. I will fight for something. And that experience makes them a leader that I think men with privilege just cannot have. And most men have a lot of privilege. Like they will have multiple layers of privilege in any kind of scenario. And so I think that is what I feel makes a big difference for me.
No, you did a wonderful job. You get 8 out of 10 for this answer. The next
Wow.
answer can be improved upon.
Uh, Okay,
By
you
two
will give me
points.
feedback. Red pen, so you have marked.
Red pen. 1 gold star, but you will get. If you want 3 gold stars, you can understand what you have to do.
And the scale is 1 to 3 gold stars. What is this classroom? Why is it not
What
one
do
to
you
five?
mean? इतनी जगह थोड़ी है 5 गोल्ड स्टार देने की 3 ही गोल्ड स्टार मिलेंगे गोल्ड स्टार इज एक्सपेंसिव प्लीज आई
Uh,
लाइक इट
you have
आई थिंक अ
challenged us
वंडरफुल
today.
क्वेश्चन थैंक्स थैंक्स I've gotten many answers now I know what thoughts to co-opt when I have to build an organization
Not
well
just
I'll just
not just
sorry
organization. When we are in conversations with others, we will pick and
yeah
choose from different answers and be like, actually, I have like thoughts on
utopian world
this.
I won't really look at gender as much, but if it does come down to it, I like it.
I have a question
Yeah.
for all three of you.
Oh
If
wow.
you guys like, it is from like it stemmed from the thought of building an organization, but more realistically, all of us will be people managers. Like we might be right now, we might be few years
Yeah.
down the line. What are top three things that will be your principles as people managers?
I can
As I
go
am the
since
question
others are
asker.
single.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So you won't answer it.
No, I will
Oh, you
not
will
go
give
first
marks.
now. I
Oh,
will give marks.
hey, don't try.
Judgment and
Don't
all is
try.
happening.
Give marks.
Yes, marks. Um, because others were thinking, that's why I said I will go first. First thing is I will always have my managee's back. No matter what, like even if you are genuinely an idiot and you are also an ass, like even if you are all of those things and you have irritated me to the core, on principle, I might like come and tell you later on, and in one-on-one conversations, I will tell you that listen, you have fucked up. But in front of others, especially, I will not throw you under the bus because
United
when a
front.
yeah, when a senior person just throws you under the bus, it's so much worse than when a peer or someone does it. Like it's just it will ruin your credibility instantly. And yeah, and I don't think I will ever do that. I will always push them to learn. I think a lot of managers only want you to do things specific to your role, and they categorically do not want you to learn things because it will broaden your horizons and you will start reaching outside of that role, and they are scared of what will happen. And so they keep you stuck to that thing which doesn't make you a good employee but makes you a good assistant to them. So that is something that I will always do. Like I will push them to learn, and I don't know, this is a very like generic answer, but I will try to empower them because I did not get that. Like I did not get a lot of like managerial support. I did not get I've worked in workplaces where I've not even like across all my workplaces, the pattern has been that I've not worked with someone who's been very supportive. So it's been, and it trickles into your personal life, right? Like, especially if the person's young, and I'm guessing like when I first become a manager, it'll be a young person. It'll really like, I don't know, it significantly impacts morale. It does all of those things. So I will really like empower them to just I don't know, speak up, do shit, as all of those things.
Yeah,
And if it's
makes
a
sense.
man, I will teach them, I will radicalize them a little bit.
Of course.
Of course, as is every woman manager's duty.
Yes. Just anyone who identifies as that, I will radicalize them. So
Great.
that is the question. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to hear from me? Then you can
No, no.
text later. You can email.
8.5 on 10.
Oh, 25 on 10. I give to myself.
So has broken the
What do the
scale.
other two think?
I went like that when she was speaking because they're literally the
Yeah,
same
stop.
3 points. Because I was just
Yeah,
like, because I was like, chalo, at least last point to alag hoga. Because I was gonna say autonomy, and then she was like, empower them to do things. So,
thief, a
um,
thief.
if people are hoping to hear
Yeah.
different opinions from this podcast, I don't think that's going to happen.
But
Um,
autonomy is different, I think.
I think learning for me is number one, as Aparna also mentioned. Um, I have had managers who have gone out of their ways to ensure that my learning doesn't stop. And then I learn things while I'm doing my work as well. So I would want to do that for every single manager that I have
Mm.
for the rest of my career because it was just I'm so grateful for my manager for that. I cannot tell you enough. So I don't think learning is like a big thing and like, ensuring that you yourself have a very growth oriented mindset and you are also teaching your managees to have that same mindset. I think it's very important. I also feel like there is a it's and I think this is something that can be again this is something that needs to be talked about, but there is a fine line between you being a manager and you being someone's coach. Like if you get into coaching, I see a manager as a coach. And
Hmm.
so then I would want to be a manager who is also a coach.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, maybe my manager does not need that. Maybe my manager
Yeah.
just needs a manager, does not need a coach. So I think it's
Sure.
important that we, having said that this is what I want to do for my manager, I would also want to know what it is that they want, and then I can change my managing style according to what it is that they want. Because again, my managing them, they should be the focus.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think so learning was one, autonomy is the other one. It's just give them the space to do their own thing. Let them come up with their ideas. Let them showcase why is it that they were hired in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna happen if I keep interfering and like
Yeah.
redoing all of the work that they are doing. So I think that's autonomy is like a very, very big one. And then the third is just be compassionate. Just be a compassionate person towards your manager. They're human beings at the end of the day, like deeply flawed, just like you. And so
Yeah.
there are just so many factors that you need to consider as a manager while you are supervising another person in the workplace. So just operate with a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding. I think these are my top.
Anushka, I want to hear your answer because you've also said that you're not a person who necessarily like wants to connect immediately, right? And for me, that means, I mean, I want to know what that does to your managing style because from what I'm hearing for both Aparna and Yesha, and possibly even for me, I have very similar thoughts. It would end up being that that personal connection matters a lot. But
Hmm.
if that's not the first thing that you would necessarily want to build, what does that do to your managing style?
Very interesting. I haven't thought of it very deeply. But from my past experience of managing like one, two people or like three, four people, I have realized that what Yesha was saying, I think doing that becomes really pertinent. And I think I have been able to do that towards the end, like understand what they really need. And if it is a very involved, extroverted person, then be that. Um, I have also been lucky to get extremely good people as my teammates who were extremely learning forward. But I don't know how, now that you've said this, I don't know how it will, actually, I don't know how it will be in the future. I'm not managing anyone right now, but I don't know how it will be in the future. But one additional thing I would just add to what Yesha and Aparna said, and extremely aligned, actually, same points. Um, is one other thing, very tactical thing I would request them to do is to just to catalyze your learnings. Catalyze is the right word? I don't know. Just document what you do somewhere. It helps in connecting the dots so much. Like if someone were starting their entire career with me, I would just say start documenting things, not just for proof, but just for making sense, making better stories in your head 10 years from now, right? You can say that this led to this to yourself. And you have better understanding of how you have learned things. And I think that is the only tactical advice I find myself giving to even my younger sibling who has started working. But that's it. On terms of larger principles, I think they're very similar.
Okay, tell me about your relationship with LinkedIn
I
very
can start.
quickly.
I can start.
Okay.
I used to be a huge LinkedIn fan. When it first
Mm.
had started and entered India, I was very excited about it, and I was like, finally a place for like professional networking because I really struggle with in-person networking. I don't know what to do at these networking events. I'm standing around like a small child and being like, मुझे भी देख लीजिए, मुझे भी बताइए क्या करना है. And I'm like, I don't know how people do it so seamlessly. And then when a digital platform was there, I was like, oh, this is so accessible. I can talk to anyone, I can meet anyone. And I was like, I will be the best at LinkedIn. That lasted for like a week, and I was like, this is too much effort. Even the digital part of it is too much effort, but I still loved it because I was like, oh, I get to see a lot of like the backstories of people which I didn't have access to till then. I get to also sometimes see what they are thinking and what are they talking about, which I don't get access to. So now when I'm going to a networking event, I'm going in with some context that, oh, like a little bit of light talking that, oh, this person or likes this, they talk about this, they have just been here. So I'm going into these events with a little bit more purpose, clarity, feeling really good. Um, and then someone decided that people can say anything on LinkedIn. And someone decided that we need to bring our absolute whole unfiltered self to LinkedIn. And that shifted everything because now I don't open LinkedIn at all. Even people I've engaged with in extremely professional settings who are in a variety of um, industries, a variety of organizations, a variety of roles, they all now say the same thing to me. We will connect with each other on LinkedIn, and then their first message to me on LinkedIn would be, I'm actually not very active on here, so just here, take my number and connect there because no one wants to be on LinkedIn. And it is a reason that the platform has become really chaotic and it's very messy and it's very difficult to like find the good stuff. But the other thing is the platform itself I'm not a big fan of. Like the UI UX is not very friendly. It doesn't make it very easy to use and connect and access. And I know there are people out there who will disagree with me and who use it beautifully. I think they should do tutorials because I just struggle. I don't know how. So my relationship started with love and ended with hate.
I've attended those tutorials. They do not work.
Really?
हाँ,
They are
कोई
just
जरूरत नहीं है लिंक्डइन चलाने के लिए
What do
ट्यूटोरियल
they
देखो.
teach in those tutorials?
they will literally be like, oh, this is here is they're just doing marketing for LinkedIn at the end of the day. Here is this platform. You can find people, you can connect with them. But people don't respond.
Yeah.
People that you actually want to connect with are just they just don't have the time to respond to anyone on LinkedIn because there are thousands of people messaging them every day. It is the most useless
Yeah.
platform that I have ever come across. The only thing that I like LinkedIn for is anytime I come across a new professional or a professor, a guest lecturer who walks into class, the first thing that all of us do is check out their LinkedIn profile to see where have they worked, what are they doing right now, what do they specialize in. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all that I would want to use LinkedIn for. And the whole using LinkedIn to build your network, it does not make sense to me. Opposite to what Vidushi said, I want to be in those in-person spaces. I want people's business cards. I want to
Mm.
have that, even if it's a 2 minute face-to-face time that I'm getting with them. I still think that it's a lot more impactful than just sending someone a connection
Yeah.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I agree with most of the points. I do. I was thinking about exactly what Yesha does, looking someone up. I think in our extremely privileged world, LinkedIn has democratized information a little
Yeah.
bit more, right? So you can get what I was essentially thinking of. So I also have a very negative opinion of LinkedIn. I think I have mentioned this many times to Aparna ki if I when I whenever I open LinkedIn, my IQ drops. But I think all of us come from, at least I come from, a rather, by the virtue of my parents, my friends, my the education institutions, a rather connected world, right? Tomorrow, if I have to go looking out for some kind of inspiration, say for example in another industry, I am probably a message away from someone. But
Yeah.
I wonder, that is not a privilege a lot of people have, right? Like again, a lot, matlab most people have. I wonder that I wonder kya, I think there is where LinkedIn plays a great role. What I do mind and what I'm very critical about on LinkedIn is how everyone is a hero on LinkedIn. Like sometimes you can tell that, dude, you've worked for only 2 years. How did you move the profit? Or the how did you impact the strategy of a Fortune 500 company? No, you did not. Right? Even your boss's boss did not. Right? So calm the fuck down. I hate that people do not are not. I think that's a problem with what happens in the classroom is replicated on LinkedIn. All privilege shows up on LinkedIn. Most voices are of privileged men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very narrow views. And what I hate about it is that they get their supporters, they get their cheerleaders. I want to be that person on LinkedIn one day when I just say, "Okay, not research backed." When I just comment around like unabashedly, bullshit, seems like a lie, seems AI generated. I will do this one day. But yeah, that is my. I do open LinkedIn once a day, but
Yeah.
still out of habit.
LinkedIn games are good. That's the
I
only
knew.
reason.
I knew it.
Me.
That the LinkedIn games are quite good.
Aparna used to play LinkedIn games between classes. Sorry to cut you off. I know of another person, another classmate of ours, Shriya, who used to tell me what rank she is on in LinkedIn games, and apparently
Yeah,
LinkedIn
yeah.
games are really popular.
Yeah, they are very good. LinkedIn games, LinkedIn ka only good thing that they have done is LinkedIn games. So that's why they don't work on filtering other stuff because they like games. But for me, how LinkedIn has helped, and I also hate LinkedIn and I hate networking. I don't believe in it. For myself, I hate it. I will never do it. I don't have the
Yeah.
intrinsic ability to do it, to go and talk about myself in a professional manner that way and then also get someone to listen. I also, most of the times, जिनकी गाइडेंस मुझे चाहिए वो मेरे करीब हैं, मैं उनकी गाइडेंस लूंगी, मुझे किसी स्ट्रेंजर की गाइडेंस नहीं चाहिए।
Yeah.
ना तो मैंने अपने एंड मतलब मैंने नहीं ली है, and it won't work for me because you don't know me and everything I do is very specific to what I do.
Yeah.
So I will take advice, but I will take it from the people around me. For example, the people who are on this call, I won't take it from a stranger. But how it has helped is, so when I was like researching and figuring out what to do for my masters, and even when I figured out कि ठीक है मुझे MBA करना है, my trajectory was not the most conventional trajectory, right? So it was कि engineer है, फिर किया कुछ tech में नहीं किया, something project management, then did non-profit, now wants to go back into MBA. So I was not getting a lot of support from either side of the demographic that I belong to. I did not belong anywhere. So it helped me find people who had similar experience. और मैं बस उनके
Yeah.
profiles देखती थी and then I'd feel motivated. I would never reach out to them because I was like, no, that is against me. But it helped me stay motivated. And help me like if they can do it, then I can definitely do it. And they might have X ways of doing it. It doesn't matter what their ways are because my ways will obviously be different. But I will do it. And the reason also I figured out that I didn't ever want to take advice, I don't want to risk it from a stranger, is because once I spoke to an education consultant just to figure things out, and they told me कि आप ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, आपको तो यही करना चाहिए. And they kept trying to convince me of it, and they kept trying to tell me how this decision that I had made for myself in its entirety was wrong. I was like, you can fuck off. You don't know anything about me. So then I was like, yeah, I can't be doing it.
I think that's a very interesting point because for me, one of the reasons I also liked LinkedIn at the very start was because it was a little aspirational that I'm reading other people's thoughts. This is a place where I will also be able to share my thoughts and have people like read more and know more and be like, oh my god, amazing thoughts. But then because people really started posting very unfiltered thoughts, I realized, oh, that value of being able to say that when I put my thoughts
Yeah.
on there, they'll be considered, they'll add to my credibility, suddenly did not seem as important and as valuable. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what, then there's no
Yeah.
point. So I was like, I only wanted to be on LinkedIn for the bragging rights also. कि अरे इससे कुछ होता है, but I was like, अब तो bragging rights भी
It's
नहीं बचे हैं.
gone.
Then what am I really doing on this platform? Why am I spending my time here?
The games are good, guys.
Arey,
Noted.
girl, we will do one podcast where we will play the games. We will do a gamer podcast with LinkedIn games.
That'll be a
And
follow-up for this
With
call.
games.
Yes,
In
we will do
gaming
the
with your with workplace professionals.
a near
what are
and
the
dear
type
of
of
my life.
posts? Yes.
Ek
What are
second.
the
I said I will bring it up, so I'm going to bring a near and dear of my life who is not in my life anymore introduced me to LinkedIn games, and that is probably the only good thing they did. But it is a good, and I would
it is
recommend.
Can
Now
yeah.
you
you
can continue.
can you play LinkedIn games with each other? Like, can I play a LinkedIn game and then select that I want to like fight
And
against a panda?
it's like New York Times, but it
Oh,
gives you rankings. So, like in your industry, whatever the companies are there in your specific industry, it ranks you. And then it tells you, and then it ranks you among your connections also and tells you.
Oh wow.
And
Crazy.
if your ranking improves, it tells you.
and so the more
Also,
games
this
I
is
play, the more people in my industry can see me, and the more they will know कि अरे इसके पास तो बहुत वेला टाइम है, ये तो गेम्स खेल रही है.
no, because you can only play the game once and it takes a total of 10
Oh.
minutes to finish all the games. It's like New York Times game. So once you've solved it, it's done. Also, the messaging is so cute. Once you like do the ranking thing and maybe you've solved the game today very fast, it will tell you things like, you have moved your company's position in the leaderboard by 2 ranks. And then you're like, wow, I'm doing for my company. Then for one game, it tells you you are smarter than 75% of the CEOs in the world. Like, wow.
Wow.
यही तो सुनना यही तो सुनना था.
Do
Shareholder
you
value
think
maximized.
that an employee who's not performing well in their organization and is on the verge of getting fired because of their performance can just go up to them and be like, look at what I am doing for our organization on LinkedIn Games. This is gonna change your identity as an organization. You need me.
With the
You need
way,
me.
with the dystopian way the world is right now, I think this is a very real possibility.
It is
I'm,
a very real possibility.
I'm sure in Elon Musk's organization, that's exactly how all the employees are now.
I was just remembering कि dystopian world में कुछ भी हो रहा है. What I was telling Vidushi the other day कि someone who was assigned on a team to work with me for something has in 5 minutes of the I've not even started giving them the work, and they have said, I will only do this much. What if I don't have bandwidth? And I've said, wait, but I've said, wait, this new boundary setting thing that is happening that all of us are alien to because I too have never set boundaries, which I know is not good.
Yeah.
But this brother has not even heard what the work is. This brother has been assigned to do this work. This work will not take the entire day and has come in here for support. It's just be like, what if I don't have bandwidth?
It was a
I can't.
rhetorical, it was a philosophical question. They wanted to enter
Yeah.
into an intellectual debate with you. What if I don't have bandwidth? What will happen then?
What will happen? Immediately. And then I've said, we will see when it comes to that. First, you can complete your work. I
I
don't
would
know if
first
I'm.
clap for his confidence. That is what I
Yeah,
would do.
only
I
a
would be in
man.
awe.
Only a
Only a
man.
man.
Only him.
Only a man. But yeah, that's.
We get a lot of advice of the workplace, and to Aparna's point, I will not take it from random people, which makes sense. Um, what is advice that you've gotten that has really worked out in the workplace, and you think like, oh, I was so glad that this happened, like someone shared this with me. And on the flip side of it, what is advice that you've gotten that you're like, that didn't make sense at all, and I've never used it in the workplace? Um, and why was the second advice from a family member?
I love
I suddenly have the answer, so I will give it before I forget
I
it.
knew
And
it.
it's a very honest answer, okay? So, an answer, the advice that I never apply is not from a family member, but it is do not make friends at work. I have spoken enough about how I like to make friends at work. I think for my kind of a personality, it helps me make allies. Not just that, it helps me, I think very strategically speaking, it helps me survive better. But something that my first manager, who I have spoken about again earlier, told me when I was in the most basic position again, when I was 20 years old, probably, she told me that whenever you are in review conversations, only fight for two things: money and the kind of work you are getting, and the quality of work you are getting, and everything else comes along with it. So you don't necessarily fight for a designation, don't necessarily fight for like other aesthetic things. Fight for the right money and fight for the quality of work you get. That's it. And I think I have not figured out that advice has stood, at least for me, like stood true, has been standing true from like between various industries. Yeah, and I love that advice.
Okay, I can share. Um, One piece of advice that I got that I really appreciated and it has still stayed with me is that um, I'm a very emotional and a very sensitive person, and I bring those emotions to my work as well. And so when things are not going right, or when, maybe I'm dealing with a very difficult person in the workplace, I'm dealing with a very difficult situation in the workplace, my emotions are all over the place. And I don't operate with a lot of equanimity, as we call it in the workplace. I'm not as calm and composed as I should be. And I feel like because I am in this field of organizational psychology, I will more often than not be in these scenarios where a lot of negative emotions and can come up, and it's very easy to be vulnerable in those situations as well. And so I was told that you need to learn. It's a skill. It's a skill. It's not something that people are born with. It's not something that should come to you naturally, but it is a skill that you need to develop because it will take you a very long way in the workplace, and you need to be calm and composed even when everything is going to shit. And I really appreciate that because it has stayed with me. I try to bring it to all of the work that I have done and continue to do after I got this piece of advice. So I really appreciate that. Another piece of advice that I got that I do not appreciate at all was when I when I got into human resources, because again, my trajectory so far has been all over the place. I studied literature, wanted to do journalism, got into content writing, then started teaching, then got into HR. So it's been all over the place. So I think my because it was something that I was doing for the very first time, I was told that you need to, you're taking up a role that is beneath you. You're taking up a role that you are overqualified for. I didn't see it that way because I wanted to do it for the experience, because it was something very new for me, and I feel like it's better to start from scratch. But then, the person who was giving me this advice, their focus was a lot more like, you need to be on top, you need to think about like how are you going to earn more money, how are you going to do this. And my approach was more from like a learning sense. um, so yeah, I didn't appreciate that. It stayed with me for a very long time because I kept questioning my decision of taking up a role that I was overqualified for. But it changed my life. Like, it's changed my entire career trajectory, and I'm very, very glad that I actually did it. So yeah, like, honestly.
I Mine are actually very short and quick. The advice that I got was that which I feel like I've really valued and has sustained across time and across different workplaces for me is when in crisis, support the people, not the project. Like stand behind the people, not the project.
Oh.
And I when I got it, I was very young and in my very early years of like working. And I thought, okay, what does this even mean? And I think across time, what I've realized is projects fail, projects get shut down, projects do not matter at the end of the day because projects are run by people, and when in crisis, if we make the people we are working with feel like shit, if they don't feel like we've got their back, if we don't work with them to figure a way out, and we are so stuck on like the project or the work to say no, this is what will get us there, it can really skew your relationships long term in the workplace. It can change how people see you. So I've really appreciated that, and that's also one of the things I hold on to when anything breaks down around me, and I'm like, okay, the first instinct is to then be like, okay, let's stand with behind the people and like see what they need versus anything else. So this is a advice that I absolutely love. And I got it from a person who I did not respect, which is why I realized that you should always listen to all advice. You never know what can really help. And the one advice that I've gotten again in my very early formative years of career was that if I ever want to make it big or if I ever want to make it in leadership, I should not be myself. I should not be as loud and as honest as I am about things. But I've actually realized across all of my, like, and I say all as if I'm my 80-year-old and I'm in my retirement years, but across my tenure, I've come to realize it's not true. How you say things matters, but what you say has to be something you feel comfortable with. And for me, that comfort comes from saying it in a manner that is me, saying it in a very honest way. And I think that's really helped me. So I see, and that was a advice that even in that moment, I have argued with that person about how dare you say that to me. I will show you. And interestingly, I did show them because I have then later, as a petty person I am, messaged them and been like, ha ha, I am now in this position, so see you. And then they have not responded. And I was like, but I needed to let them know that this was not an advice that you should be giving a very young person, because if it was anyone but me, they would have shifted how they
Yeah.
function. And I'm like, that's just not what you should be doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are my two.
Good ones.
I have not gotten actually a lot of advice, work related advice, like कि ये करना चाहिए वो करना चाहिए. But my dad has always told me this, and I think it can be replicated in many spaces and not just in the workplace. Where he said one thing where he was like, hard work will trump intelligence any day. He was like, I have had a
Yeah.
lot of experience academically and in the workplace. You will be around people. And then he also said this to me in ISB because I was telling him how I was struggling, and not a lot, but my dad and I have similar personalities. We're quieter people. So he also senses that a little bit, perhaps. But I was telling him about how people in classrooms often say a lot of things, and I was struggling with that a lot. And I was like, a lot of it is just shit, but they're so confident about it. And he was like, never be bogged down by the loudest voices.
Mm.
Because the loudest voices are not often rooted in anything
Mm.
substantial, and you
Yeah.
will find that out. People who
Mm.
talk a lot more than is necessary, it doesn't always, like, our bias naturally is to think of this person is so confident that they
Mm.
are always right, and this has happened to me a lot. And whereas a person like, for example, someone like me who is in a close circle of people loud, but in a group of strangers not able to say as much, not able to speak as loudly, not able to take up as much space. Even if I do say something, A, nobody will listen to me, or they will assume that I am not saying the right thing because I'm not coming across as a very confident person. So he was like, don't ever be afraid of it. And always, A, work hard enough, never be bogged down by someone's intelligence. And also, because loud voices don't, I don't know, don't win in the long run,
Yeah.
build substance as a person. Like, make sure that you have a very strong sort of, I don't know, core brain muscle to fall back on at the end of the day, because those are the things that will take you very far. And then the second thing that he also would always tell me is that never be arrogant. If you've chosen to do work in an organized manner, you will always be working for someone. And at that time, he was like towards retirement. So he was someone who did hold a lot of power in the government sense, and he would still tell me, he was like, even someone like me is answerable to someone, and I मुझे उसकी जी हुजूरी करनी पड़ेगी ही पड़ेगी, मुझे यस सर करके बात करना ही पड़ेगा, और उनके सामने भी जो है उनका भी कोई बॉस है और उनका भी कोई बॉस है. So he was like this, there's a lot of like unnecessary arrogance that people sort of start holding when even a little bit of power comes to them. So he was like, don't let any amount of power get to you ever, because it will go like this. And then people will remember you not as the person who was once powerful, but as the person who was once arrogant,
Yeah.
because they don't need to be nice to you anymore. And bad advice, though, I think for me, it's been key like when I was in the non-profit sector and I wanted to do an MBA, people looked down on me for having to do that. When I went to do my MBA, people looked down on me for coming from a different sector and the kind of work I did, I think. And they would feel free to say, Ki, why do you do this? Why do you want to do this? Ye kyun kiya, wo kyun kiya? I think if you're someone who's intentional about the kind of work life that you want, it's important to not take advice on what your journey should be. You can take advice on the smaller things, but where I want to get, you can't give me advice till you know me completely, and you won't know me completely. So I, it doesn't. You know, like someone telling you, why do you want to do this kind of work or that kind of work? And questioning that constantly is not someone who's giving you advice, really. They're just projecting on you or being assholes. So those
Yeah,
are.
it's great advice.
Can I just also
That's
add
great advice to
something?
not take advice.
Thanks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just also add something to the trajectory, because I also get that a lot. Um, I went from arts to science. I have gone from working in, again, social media to a teacher to this. I've made so many changes. Um, and so many people have been like, firstly, they've questioned that I've made so many changes and I've made so many jumps from one sector to another, one field to another. And then there are people who now, when I speak to them and I tell them about this trajectory, are like, oh, we didn't know that this was also possible. I feel like at the end of the day, again, very similar to the advice that Aparna's dad gave was, if you are working hard, if you're very intentional, if you put your mind to it, if you really want something and you are trying to work towards it, I don't see why you cannot switch and why you cannot do whatever the hell you want to do. Um, as long as you know that that is right for you and that is what you need to be doing right now. Like it does not matter.
Now, as we're closing out, I need to ask this group to make sure that we become really famous. So that means that we will be saying goodbye to you. We may choose to bring you back. We may also not, based on how many followers we get right after this episode. So if we get 150 followers, because you both have done PR of this episode, then we will get you back. If we don't,
एक्स्ट्रा वी
extra,
हैव
extra is what?
147.
Yes,
तो 3
sorry.
फॉलोअर बढ़ा के नहीं आ जाने का है,
नहीं,
प्लीज.
नहीं. 150 extra, then we will get you back, and there will be a part two of other topics. And if not, then you had your 1 minute of fame between like 50 people, and that is it. You can put
Love
it
it.
on your CV.
What if Anushka brings in 145 and I bring in 5? Do I still get to come?
Yes, you still get to come.
Good.
It's a
Will we have
joint.
145 people who like me? No, there is 1.45% who likes me.
1.45.
They will I will get you 2 followers, a rounded up number.
So for 148, Yesha is on you.